So I missed last week's YouTube video, but for very good reason. I booked my very first event as a videographer and photographer. So I have spent the last week editing all the footage and organizing all the footage that I captured from that event. Now, I love making YouTube videos and I am loving this content filmmaking journey here online, but this was my first big gig outside of all that, and I really had to lock in for the entire week. Now, me being the idiot that I am, I also thought that very week I could make a month's worth of YouTube videos on top of everything else, when I didn't even have the time to make one single video. Yes, I'm an idiot, I know, but I thought this would be like a good opportunity to kind of talk to you lot about how I prepped for my very first event and all the other stuff that sort of came with it. So it might help you with booking your first event. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let's talk about the importance of having a good website and social media. And now I will, in another video, when I bring you along for a headshot/portrait session, I'll bring you along and show you in depth the website that I use. But for me, the key is staying professional, and they need to be able to see you online. Now, I haven't done an event, but I have done lots of photography work, and I've started to delve into the videography/social media side and content creation. And they approached me. I didn't actually go out and approach them. And they saw my videos, they saw what I was doing, so they decided to get in contact, which is great and is another benefit of like doing this social media stuff and putting yourself out there. The more you put yourself out there, the more you're going to be seen, and the more you showcase your work, the more people are going to see it, because everybody is there in the evening scrolling on their phone. And if they're thinking about it or looking for a photographer or videographer, they're going to scroll around, and if they see you, it's a win. So putting out content and putting out and showing your work is amazing, and it's free. It's literally free. So make sure you're staying on it in terms of showcasing your work and pushing it out there. So I've got E98 STUDIOS, which is my business, and then I've also got my own profile, Hanlon, on Instagram and stuff. So they reached out via Instagram. Then also another key, through my website, I use a company called Pixieset, which is designed specifically for photographers and videographers, where you can build in your website, build in your online gallery, take payments and send invoices. Instead of being that person that's like, oh yeah, here's my bank details, send it to this bank account, or sending your Revolut details, or whatever it may be, having a system that you can send out an email professionally with your invoice and the whole breakdown, and them being able to pay via their card on your site is way more professional. And luckily with Pixieset, I can send custom invoices to clients. So I was able to send off my deposit with the breakdown in the invoice, and they were able to securely make their payment. And it's the same with the remaining fee from the event. I was able to send them an email with the remaining fee, all the breakdown of everything I need, and they can make a secure payment, which now they take like £3 off it, £4 for using it. But that's nothing in the grand scheme of things of looking professional. And also what is great for Pixieset, I was able to upload all my photography and all my video footage that I had edited for them, and it's all watermarked. So they can see all that, approve it, make changes, send me back their feedback, and I can re-upload it to their gallery. And when they're happy with everything and they want me to release the footage, they can open their invoice in their emails and pay securely. So having something like Pixieset is key to being a professional videographer and photographer, and just your overall look and feel of your business. I feel like I waffled on a bit there, but it is very important. So I use Pixieset. I believe it's around $45 a month I pay for it, but it's so worth it. I use it for all my headshots and portrait sessions. Everything goes through Pixieset. And it has really elevated me as a videographer and photographer to showcase my portfolio. So I know a lot of people use Squarespace because they sponsor a lot of YouTubers, but for me, as a photographer and videographer, Pixieset is the way to go. Now let's talk about money. What do you charge your client for said event? That's where a lot, and I mean a lot, of research comes into play. I pretty much scanned the entire network of videographers here in Ireland. I had no other choice. I had to make sure I wasn't selling myself short or also overcharging, and I researched the entire market because I'm new to this, so what do I charge and what's justifiable? Because also I have upgraded my entire studio, so you're paying for the cameras, you're paying for all the equipment as well on top of that, travel, etc. So you have to be clever with how you price it. So I scanned the entire market in Ireland, and that's no exaggeration, and I found the price which was the average of what everybody was charging, because if you underprice, the client is going to feel a bit uneasy and say, why is this person undercharging? Is it because they don't know what they're doing? Is it a bit dodgy? And then if you overcharge, they're going to go, why are they charging so much for this event? Like, I haven't even seen a whole lot of their event work. So you got to be smart with it. So I found out what the average cost was, and I done the maths, like on my equipment, travel, all that, and I came to the same price, and I stood firm with it. That's what I would then say is make sure when you charge that price and the client's happy with it and you're happy with it, make sure you go above and beyond then. So you might say you will get X, Y, and Z in your package, throw in a few extra bits. If you want to keep them as a client and use them as a client for the following year and you build that relationship, go above and beyond so you can keep them. Don't look for a quick buck. Try think long term and think longevity. You know, I could have easily just turned around a quick buck, sent off basic editing, and then off I went. But that's not going to want them or make them want me the following year. So make sure you are holding yourself to a high standard and going above and beyond. Now again, not sending them too much stuff that you're overworking yourself, but just a little bit more to kind of say, hey, listen, I appreciate your work, I appreciate you using me for the very first time, and here's a bit extra. So that's what I would recommend on that. Doing your research, make sure you're not undercharging and overcharging, because look, as videographers and photographers, when you're starting off, it is a kind of a thing of putting figures out of your arse and you're trying to figure out, what do I charge? Like, because sometimes when you're self-taught all this kind of videography and photography stuff, you kind of feel a little bit like, oh, can I charge that? Like, because I taught myself, but you've invested your time to learn all of this and you spent your money on the equipment. Of course you can charge that. So it's kind of also like backing yourself as well. And then when you go to the event and your post-production work is just proving your worth. But yeah, do a lot of research. If you're wondering what I should charge, I would say do research of people within your area, of wherever it is in the world you're living, and do your research specifically on that said area. Next is understanding your client's specific needs and wants. Thankfully, the two people that hired me to capture their event were two of the most amazing people you could ever ask for your first ever event, and just in general, they were like a bundle of joy, and they were so keen on building a strong team, and everybody was valued and everybody was equally important to making the event happen. So for me, that was an incredible team to work with, especially on my first big event. But when you have that initial chat with them, figure out who they are, find out their story. Me as a videographer, photographer, and cinematographer, I want to capture people's stories and bring their stories to life. So I really was keen on capturing their why. The event that they were doing was a performing arts event, and I am a performer, so I can relate to that. And their why for doing what they wanted to do, because this was a first of its kind type of event here in Ireland. So I really wanted to make sure I captured their why and their story and why it's so important that events like these should happen here in Ireland. And they were big on that too, and they really wanted to showcase that. So I made sure throughout the entirety of the day, I was really focusing on storyline and people's stories of how they got there and the whole overall event. So it's just making sure that when you go to the event, and especially in post-production, you're not both on different chapters of the book. You know, you're both singing from the same hymn sheet. Like, you're both understanding what it is you want to capture. So it's not our job as the photographer and videographer to just go one way and go, this is what I want to do, this is best. No, it's not. you're hired to do a job, and whatever that client wants is what your job is to create. So just making sure that you understand what the event is about, what the people running the event are about, and making sure you capture that to the best of your ability. Obviously using your style, whatever it is, if it's cinematic, retro, whatever that may be, they will already know that if they've looked at your kind of content. They'll know that's the type of look I want to capture. But just making sure that you tell their story and you understand them, because if you don't, that's not going to look well for you. And the whole point of it is hopefully them using you again for the following year. If you want to get a quick buck, off you go. Take the money, do a basic job and leave. But for me, it's all about longevity. If you want to build a business as a videographer or photographer, you want to be hired again. So it's making sure that you listen, you hear them, and you bring that to life, and you don't just go down an artistic route that's nothing to do with what they've asked for. So really listening and understanding your client is going to lead to longevity and being used again in the future. Now let's talk about prepping and the equipment you should bring for the event. I can't show you what's on my screen because there's some client confidentiality stuff written on it, so I can't show you, but I can kind of read out the basics of everything that's on this. So I made sure I found out from the client what the schedule was for the day. So I wrote down the entire schedule, what's happening, when it's happening, and where it's happening, just so I knew at all times what was going on, because I wanted to make sure that I scheduled my breaks. And having breaks on a 10-hour day is key. You have to make sure you take your breaks. So just going, okay, that's happening there. That's actually nothing that I might need to capture. So I'm going to use my break there, because there's no point saying, right, the finals are on from 6:30 to 7:30. I'm going to take a small break at 6:30 for 20 minutes, and you miss a key moment of the entire event. So it's kind of highlighting with the client what are the key moments that you need to capture exactly, and then going, right, these other bits I can use that as breaks. Now I didn't take a long lunch. I had a half an hour lunch break because the whole event stopped for 20 minutes to half an hour. And then throughout the day I just took 5 minutes, went in, had some water, had a little snack, made sure I was just hydrated, and then kept going. And also make sure you bring enough water and enough snacks and enough food with you for the day. Don't bring a lot of junk food. Each to your own, but bring stuff that's protein filled, that's high energy. Have a little bit of sugar with you as well, just to keep you going. But don't bring a load of crap food with you, because that's just not helpful for you. Bring good food so your body's getting good stuff into your system throughout the day. And then what I did was I wrote out a rough shot list. So I was hired from 8:30 to 7:30 p.m. I made sure I was there from 7:30. So the whole event kicked off at 8:30, which is what I was hired from. But from 7:30, I made sure I used it at time to capture B-roll outside of the hotel which we were filming in. Captured all my B-roll, captured shots of inside the hotel when it was quiet, capture shots of the team setting up the stage, setting up the lights, so I could really capture the story of the owners. Use that time wisely, so I wasn't trying to capture that throughout the event and I would miss any key details. So I made sure I had that done an hour before I was actually hired to start. And like I said earlier, this is my first event, and these people were lucky to, I was very lucky to be hired by them. So I was just making sure I was going above and beyond and making sure I was on time, and that hour beforehand getting all the B-roll that I would need for post-production. And then from 8:30 then straight through to 7:30, I was just capturing the entire day. So I wrote out what was happening, where and when. I was like, that's a key moment. I need to capture the winners getting their trophies. I need to capture the owners with the winners, or the judges with the winners. I want to capture footage of the judges writing down their scores and audience reaction, and I wanted to get people in. I wanted to get interviews of people giving their thoughts on the day and why events like this were so important for young performers. So I was just making sure I had a tick list, just because I know when you're in there it can get overwhelming, and if something goes wrong your head might spin a little. So having this all written out, clean and crystal clear, it just helps your brain. So if you're ever getting a little squabble on the day, you can just go back, look at it and go, okay, that's what I need to capture, and get back to it. So it just keeps you moving throughout the day if stuff goes wrong, which stuff will go wrong. So I have my V-mount battery over here, which decided to snap off halfway through the day. Thankfully, there was a techie there that had tape, and I was able to just tape the V-mount battery back onto its its stand almost and just tape it back together and then get on with my day. Because stuff will break and stuff will go wrong, so it's just being able to adapt on the spot and just keep moving forward. So I wrote out a rough shot list. Then what I did was write out all my equipment that I thought I would need for this event. Now, half the stuff on this list I don't need, or I didn't need, but I thought it was better to have it there than go looking for it. If I had the opportunity to use it, I had it there. If the client wanted something there on the day, I had that option for them. I literally used, I would say, a quarter of the equipment that I brought. But for me, it was important to just stay ready for anything that could happen. So overpacking for me, I think is a good thing. Like you don't need to bring stuff that you know you're definitely not going to use, but if you think you might use it for whatever reason, my ethos is just bring it. It's no harm. You bring it, and if they want it, great, you have it. But if they then ask for it and you're like, oh, I should have brought that, it just looks unprofessional. So if you think for whatever reason you might potentially use it, bring it. And then I also wrote out questions to ask the owners, so for their interviews, the judges, and then all the audience members that were there on the day, and some of the participants of the event. I wrote out a load of questions that I could ask them. So again, because you're doing so much, I was one person trying to capture a 10-hour event as a videographer and a photographer. I knew my brain would become scrambled egg at some point throughout the day. So having all the questions already written out for me to see clear as day really helped, because I could just go back to my sheet on my phone and go, okay, these are the questions I need to ask, and then ask away. So just having that little bit of prep of all your equipment lists, because at the end of the day, I made sure I done a checklist of all my equipment when it was packed away, and went through my list to make sure I had absolutely everything that I brought with me, so I didn't leave anything there, because the shoot was 3.5 hours away from where I am based. So I needed to make sure I wasn't forgetting anything. So having that list and ticking it off at the end of the day to make sure you have all the equipment that you brought with you coming home with you is also a necessity, because then it's a 3.5 hour drive back to try collect it, and I didn't want to do that. So yeah, that was just basic prep that I did. I had my schedule, where and when everything was happening, the shot lists on all my questions, and a list of equipment so I could tick that off and know that I had everything I brought with me was coming back with me. So yeah, that's how I prepared for my very first event as a photographer and videographer. I hope this video helped. I hope there was some key information within this video that can help you prepare for your first event, or if you're already doing events, you might hear something that might help you out that you haven't thought of. And if you have any ideas down below of things I can do to improve my workflow, please leave them in the comments section below. I am all ears for new ideas and people's opinions on what they think I could improve on. But yeah, I'm very happy with the overall day, because I've spent so many months now learning as a videographer and photographer, and it was really nice to put that to good use outside of my studio or my back gardening or for a YouTube video. It was very nice to actually use it in a real world scenario where I was hired as a videographer and photographer, and really put everything that I've learned to good use. And the Canon R6 Mark II held up beautifully, by the way, because I was worried that for such a long shoot, oh, this is something I want to just say quickly, making sure you're charging your batteries. I only had 2 batteries with me, so when I was using one, I was charging another one and like swapping them over. So make sure you have somewhere you can charge your batteries on the go throughout the day. Forgot to say that, but that is key. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've gotten to the end, thank you so much for watching to the end. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It's free, it costs you nothing. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2026. It's a bit unrealistic, but you gotta aim big. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next week, Thursday, 6 p.m. for another YouTube video. Good luck.